My name is Marco Pereira. In 2005 I created the hypergeometrical universe theory. The hypergeometrical universe theory was the result of exploring not the most sophisticated possible model but the simplest one. It wasn't clear to me why the proverbial balloon—a lightspeed expanding hyperspherical universe topology or LEHU—wasn't part of the discussion. I wasn't happy with the Big Bang model and decided to explore LEHU as an alternative. In doing so, I realized that for me to create a 4D model for electromagnetism, the mass of the electron would have to be around 1 atomic mass unit, or the mass of a hydrogen atom. I put 1 and 1 to make 2 and proposed a new model for matter in a 4-dimensional universe. That was the motivation for the fundamental dilator. This path leads to the simplest possible understanding of the universe, the most fundamental theory of everything. My theory is expansive and touch many areas. That said, I am sure there is still work to be done and future generations will be able to expand upon what I did. The hypergeometrical universe theory contains 3 hypotheses. The universe is a lightspeed expanding hyperspherical hypersurface. Here you can see yourself at position A, looking into the sky, and seeing light emitted by a Type 1a supernova, SN1a. When it was at position B and the universe was smaller 4D radius, denser, and more homogeneous. Notice that the universe and all its stuff is at the hyperspherical shell locus and that locus expands at the speed of light. Notice that there isn't any brain, structure connecting galaxies, etc. Who shows that the receding of galaxies is because they act exactly like dots on a balloon. That is, they travel along the radial direction, perpendicularly to our 3D space. Hence, Who does not use or need dark matter, dark energy to explain reality. The second hypothesis states that matter is made directly and simply from localized, shape-shifting deformations of space. The monomeric unit is called fundamental dilator, FD. FD is a coherence between stationary states of deformation of space. Notice that I said space and not spacetime. Spacetime plays no role in the hypergeometrical universe theory. Here you can see the fundamental dilator representations of the electron and positron particles. The letters orientation maps the phases orientation with respect to our 3D universe. Vertical letters indicate that that phase is perpendicular to our 3D universe and does not interact. The closed loop indicates that the coherence will repeat for the lifetime of the particle. Now that you know that in the hypergeometrical universe theory, matter is made directly and simply from deformed space, it becomes clear that the universe contains only space, deformed space and time. That is the simplest possible model, and because of that, HU is the fundamental theory of everything. Immediately, it becomes clear that all matter in the universe could be created from a fragmented deformation of space. More specifically, since our observable universe is clearly tri-dimensional, the universe started as a Heisenberg-dictated 4D hyperspherical metric fluctuation. The deformation configuration that is consistent with the creation of the universe contains dilation in the inner layers and contraction in the outer layers, not unlike Prince Rupert drop. Immediately after the formation of the initial metric fluctuation, partial recombination took place. Since the 4D radius of the universe was 421 light-seconds, the partial recombination took 421 seconds to occur, leaving just 2 layers, the inner dilation layer or IDL and the outermost contraction layer or OCL. The inner dilation layer contains the negative energy that is missing in our universe. Energy conservation is used to calculate the 4D radius using a maximum density, black hole density, predicted by HU. All particles in the universe surf the inner dilation layer. That is covered in the SilverSurfer paradigm for motion. Once the partial recombination occurred, the only inner layer, the inner dilation layer, pushed the outermost contraction layer and fragmented it, giving rise to the blackholium. Blackholium is a new name because I needed to distinguish this black hole shaped as a hyperspherical shell from the garden variety black hole, which is spherical. Inertial motion or natural velocity motion made the blackholium to continue its forever expansion. Of course, forever here means for the lifetime of this universe cycle. The SilverSurfer paradigm. Unlike general relativity where a construct called mass deforms another construct called spacetime, HU gravitational or electromagnetic interaction affects only the microscopic 3D volume associated with particles. Interaction changes the orientation of that 3D volume, which I call the fabric of space, with respect to the radial direction, the direction perpendicular to the hyperspherical shell. It will become clear that this interpretation is consistent with relativity, quantum mechanics and Newtonian physics. So, one can think of the fabric of space as the footprints of the 4D construct fundamental dilator onto our 3D hyperspherical hypersuperficial universe. The figure represents a cross-section of the light-speed expanding hyperspherical universe, LEHU. There you see the SilverSurfer, surfing the inner dilation layer. This layer travels with the universe at a distance of less than a femtometer behind us. It contains the negative energy required to make disappear each and every particle in the universe. The surfboard, or fabric of space represents the 3D volume of the fundamental dilator or the polymer of the fundamental dilator. When I present the hypergeometrical universe standard model of particle physics, it will become clearer what I mean about particles and isotopes being polymers of the fundamental dilator. So, here we have the fabric of space twisted to the left and that makes the particle to move to the left. Notice that the hyperbolic tangent of the angle between the normal to the 3D volume of the particle and the radial direction is given by the ratio between the absolute velocity v and light speed c. Similarly, if the fabric of space is relaxed, it will have its normal parallel to the radial direction. Under this condition, relaxed fabric of space, the only motion taking place is a radial drift and no absolute tangential velocity. This is an important notion since all galaxies in the universe are expected to be at rest with respect to the absolute reference frame, the proverbial expanding balloon, here represented by the circle. There are two things that travel through the 4D spatial manifold: light and the dilaton field and material bodies. Light travels through geodesics. HU metric is globally Cartesian or Euclidean. Locally, it is Minkowskian. The inset shows the cross-section of our LEHU with a material body inertial trajectory in the 4D spatial manifold. Notice that as it travels, the fabric of space tension, represented by the angle alpha-1 and alpha-2 with the radial direction, decreases. This means that motion exists to relax the fabric of space or space itself in the case of the inner dilation layer in its forever expansion. The corollary of this observation is that all galaxies in the universe have small idiosyncratic absolute velocity and just gently librate around some centter of mass while traveling at the speed of light along the radial direction. Notice that HU provides the reason for Newton's first law of dynamics. Here you see two cross-sections of the light-speed expanding hyperspherical universe. There are the two reference frames from relativity x tau and x_prime tau_prime. The angle of twisting is mapped to the twisting of the 3D overlap volumes of the fundamental dilators with the 3D hypersurface. They act like surfboards. In the hypergeometrical universe theory, all particles surf the inner dilation layer, a remnant of the Big Pop universe creation. Right below, you can see Newton's equations translated into the space-strain stress paradigm of the hypergeometrical universe theory. Notice that HU is a 4D spatial manifold theory and the derivation of forces have to be done in the 4D spatial manifold. Dynamics always occurs in 4D spacetime. Notice that the 3D mass only sees half of the phases of the fundamental dilator. This is a requirement since 3D masses are the inertial masses of particles. Who introduces the stress-strain paradigm. Stress is equal to area times strain. Area is mapped to the 3D volume of particles, represented by fundamental dilator polymers. Strain is the derivative of the hyperbolic tangent of the fabric of space twisting angle. Particles' 3D volumes are footprints of the fundamental dilator, a 4D construct. The angle between the normal to this 3D volume and the radial direction of expansion of the universe within the 4D spatial manifold is mapped to stress. A relaxed fabric of space means zero stress, or the normal to particle footprints is aligned to the 4D radial direction. Who postulates that the strain on both cross-sections is the same. In other words, the force calculated using the quantum Lagrangian principle in the 4D spatial manifold is the same as the force to be used in spacetime dynamics. The SilverSurfer paradigm is something Einstein couldn't see from his 4D spacetime enclosure. Because of strong attachment to the geodesics model and the 4D spacetime, Einstein and his cult followers could never see the fabric of space and create a model based on surfing.